preparing live stream. Yes, there you go. Don't be at it now. This is supposed to be seriously light-hearted. Hang on a sec. Let me just check if it's gone live on Facebook. It says live here. Yeah. Oh, hang on. I've got to turn that down, see if anybody makes comments. Sifu Boggie, how the devil are you?
I'm all right. The devil's not bad itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, are we not the devil and God in the same sort of breath? I don't know. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should go. Okay, I think so.
Yeah. Do
This
you know
is
what?
anyway.
Do you know where I'm coming to? It's what my friend Todd Medina used to say is the human is the hero. The human. Because for a long time I was looking outside of myself for all the answers and I was carrying them within me all that time.
Mm.
So
Well,
go
it's
on.
different. It's interesting when you say human as well, because like when you learn about the fascia, which is like, and for many years, for centuries, we just thought it was a layer of like a membrane, and it wasn't until we did live autopsies, look, sorry, not live autopsies, but live operations where we could actually look at the fascia, and they actually saw light going through it. So human, the hue, the light. So we are light beings.
So you mean that we're human beings?
Well, yeah, I think with the hue, the
Yeah.
beings of light.
I
We are.
I agree, mate, and it's a big area of my life now is teaching about photobiomodulation, the way it affects the pineal gland, even coming through the skin, not just the eyes, but also resetting the circadian rhythms of our body to our essential soul's resonance. What have you got to say about that then?
Well, the pineal gland. I mean, there was things I was involved in the 90s. There was a case study going on, and they were the scientists that were part of it were saying, or they're definitely saying that the pineal gland is misunderstood, as in it's not just a gland, but it's literally an eye. It's literally the optical. They're saying, because some people dispute this, and it's like, well, they're finding an optical nerve going from the pineal gland, and so we were part of this experiment with qigong practitioners because they knew that people who did like yogis, qigong practitioners, meditators were starting to see stuff, and possibly they're thinking interdimensional, or at least, because we only actually can see 1% of the light spectrum that actually exists. And they did this experiment with us, and putting us in an MRI scan and flashing infrared and ultraviolet. And we were seeing the infrared and ultraviolet. What was interesting with the case, were like I always forget the word. Like the case, you always have a neutral group, that are not part of the
Yeah,
studies.
a control group.
Yeah, the control group. Thank you. And the control group on the MRI scan, like everyday normal people, were also seeing the infrared and ultraviolet, but the difference between us and them was that we were remembering it. It was going into our short-term, long-term memory, and for them, it wasn't. So what that said to me was, hold up, everybody's pineal gland is open. Everybody first eye is seeing infrared and ultraviolet, which is the unseen, these other things, other existence. Everybody sees it. What's the difference? Well, one of the things I always remember was people like, and hearing parents telling kids, "Oh, don't tell your teachers, or don't tell people you can see things because they'll think you're going mad." So that was shut off. That was closed down, and I'm always very much into the sacred child, and that childlike side of us, when that's turned off, we're actually turning off 1/3 of our capabilities, 1/3 of us. Like the masculine is very important. Whether you're man, woman, banana, or goat, the masculine, the doing, the action, that's very important. The masculine side, the feminine, the mother, the nurturing, whatever you are, that's very important. But also the sacred child, the play. seeing the all the wonder, seeing those things that are there but we can't see them, seeing beyond. That's all very important. And I it was that back in the 90s when that sort of came to me, that was a big thing, is that we're all active, we can all see, but most of us dismiss it. And so if we're dismissing that, what else are we dismissing? You're very big with the hearts. Are we dismissing the heart? Are we dismissing 1/3 of our mind? Because this, and this are all mind connected. What are you ignoring? What are you dismissing? Because that could be vital for you to grow. But hey, what do I know?
Anyway, there's no time left now because you haven't half gone on. Like
Oh,
you
it's been
do.
a while. It's
Yeah,
been a while.
it has been a while. That was almost like a counseling session there. So I
Well,
agree.
I am a life coach.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I spent the first half of my life in biomedical sciences and learning about physical anatomy and physiology and stuff like that. And then I was moved in because of various circumstances to understanding more in the invisible realms, as you say. The Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews called the physical world that we live in the 1% world, you know. And you mentioned 1%. We see 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. But recently I've been turning that on its head and calling it the magneto-electric spectrum because the
Mm.
magnetism we pick up, this is my understanding. Yes, there are vestigial remains of optic nerve fiber connecting the pineal gland, and as you say, we've been disconnected for various nefarious reasons because, believe it or not, Boggy, there are authorities, or not so authoritative these days, who are trying to distract us and misdirect us away from seeing the truth. No, it's true. Please believe me. And they're almost using electromagnetic frequencies to divert us away, or to divert the natural energies away from us activating even further the pineal gland now. And as you know, the pineal gland and the pituitary glands are very close to one another, the pituitary gland being the master gland, and they work harmoniously with one another if only we can work in the truth of our soul's vibration. I'm just going to keep going on this. I mean, when I say soul, I'm not a religious person. You know, I don't even know whether I'm spirit. What does all this stuff mean? But I do know that I'm a highly sensitive person, and since I was a child, I've picked up and seen things and heard things and more felt things. I'm a sort of clairsentient person, really, that feels things and senses
Mm.
emotional states in rooms and stuff like that. So I think that that is naturally happening now in this great big shift of consciousness, and everybody's almost being forced to let go of their old ways and to embrace what's actually evolving for the next evolution of the human race. Other than that, I'm not quite sure, really.
I think the whole thing is that or it's interesting that, like, but things are getting crazier, things are getting worse, and it's funny. Pressure, what pressure is like, or I love, like, the two things. One thing, like, I love the whole metaphor and the realistic knowledge of that coal pressurized creates diamonds,
Yeah,
and it's from the pressure that diamonds created. And in actual fact, like, so behind me is the Tibetan, the Kundalini in Tibet is a dragon. It was a dragon, like the dragons of the earth, the ley lines. We call them ley lines. The West, the Chinese, and Tibet, they call them the dragon lines. But the rainbow ascension of Tibet, what they call rainbow body ascension, which is all the colors of the chakras, the rainbow body ascension, all your chakras opening up. In China, it's called the diamond body ascension, because it's all the pressure to create that diamond, and you'll see all the different colors. And another metaphor similar to that is the pearl, is that oysters create pearls because of a little bit of sand gets into the oyster and it creates irritation.
yeah,
So from irritation, I'm smiling now, from irritation you get a pearl. So keep me around and I'll turn you to a pearl, baby.
yeah.
But
we must be have that telepathic link because I was thinking what you were thinking at the same time.
I know that's
So,
why I'm smiling. But
but if you
but I
don't,
think
if you go on.
I was just going to say, I just think that all this pressure, all the things that are happening now, are to make us into those diamond pearls. It's to push us to the point, or like like the whole thing. If your world seems to be collapsing, then you've got two options. You either change, or you get crushed by it. And though not everybody believes it, we are immortal. I truly feel. This body may not be, but our consciousness is, soul, whatever you want to call it. And for me, for a long, long time, I thought I definitely feel claustrophobic in my own body, meaning that, and I love the whole metaphor of like you see those cartoons of the puppets, the puppet master's hands, and then well, we're the puppet master and the puppet,
Yeah,
is that there was definitely that evidence I've seen of there was speculation that the consciousness or through the MRI they were seeing consciousness coming into the body. So the our awareness is on the outside coming in. We're sort of remote controlled. But I think we're the puppet masters. I do think, but we're so used to just seeing this, we don't see the rest of us. We got so used to this body, but if you sometimes, if you that for a lot of people get that emptiness that they feel there's something missing, and they try to feel it with sex and drugs and alcohol. And that emptiness, I think, is the void of everything else that of you that's outside, that can't get in, that can't get into this body that we're experiencing. And we sort of said about that 1%. I think it's the same with us. There's only 1% of us in this body. There's so much more. And at least when I've done remote viewing, which is a process where the biggest metaphor in remote viewing is that if everything is interconnected with everything else, you're just seeing part of you. You're not traveling anywhere. You don't have to go to the past, but there's no linear. Is that everything is one, everything is connected. So in remote viewing, you're just seeing another part of yourself, and you're experiencing it in a certain way. And I think that this pressure they're experiencing is that it's time for us to break out, time to us to expand. But it's another hour gone. So,
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with everything that you say. Just say it in different words, really. Surrender and acceptance is the key, in my view. What do we mean? We're not surrendering to something that's not us. We're surrendering to the next stage of our own evolution, really. And I think where a lot of people are now is almost like at a material and an emotional rock bottom, and they're going through hell. But it's the keeping hold of stuff that causes the pain. Letting go is painless, right? If you just
mhm.
open your hand and let the bird fly away, right, that's the thing. So I see where a lot of people are now is they're at the sort of they're in the lower hearts, to put it that way, and they're being invited to just stop and be elevated to the higher heart with a different value system, moved by a sacred feminine energy that's bringing in and resetting the balance to more care, more compassion, but not stupidity. I mean,
Yeah.
the sacred feminine is the wise one. And I'm not saying female here. For all you females, I'm saying it's the feminine that's the wise one, because the feminine can manifest through male bodies as well as female bodies, just to put that clearly, really.
Yes.
Because I think there's a
Yes.
lot of, I mean, this is what I'm noticing is it's almost as if the patriarchal system, and the masculine dominated systems being going on for thousands upon thousands of years, and it's directly linked to capitalism, caput meaning the head, right? And we're being asked now, the universe is coming in with this sacred rebalancing energy to bring with it a more nurturing, restorative, recalibration energy. I'm just saying this as it's coming out. But here's what we've always said, you and I, when we meet, Boggy, right? That's all very good. The theory is absolutely great. What do we have to do in order to allow the process to move forward? What techniques can we do in order to relax more, allowing the information, the light information, the invisible light in photonic energy? How can we get out of the way and do with our bodies, right? in order to improve the channeling through the meridian system, through the nadis, and all that sort of stuff. Over to you, old fruit.
It's funny how it always reminds me. So one of, I'm not sure what favorite is what is the correct word, but one of the lessons that I learned from my Sifus is that their name Shun, a bit like my name is Brighton. My actual name is Brighton, and Brighton is a beach as well as being a surname. And so Shun is a surname, but it also means to flow or fold. Because like all Chinese words have lots of different meaning, always more than one meaning. That's why like things like the Tao Te Ching have so many translations, because each word has many different meanings. So my Sifus once said, "We today is the lesson about shun, about to flow." And I whenever my Sifu said there's a lesson, you're gonna get hit, or I knew I was gonna get hit. Something was gonna about to happen, and I looked around and I thought, oh dear, I'm at the side of a riverbank and a very strong river. And the next thing I know, he's the Bruce Lee one-inch punch. He's far-jinged me, flying 6 foot into the water, and and the current was really strong, and I swam back, as really hard as I could, using let's just put the metaphors in, the masculine energy. I swam and swam and swam, used every ounce of energy I had to physically get back onto the bank, absolutely cream crackered. And I like stood up thinking, oh, I'm really, I'm actually really strong. I've done this. And Sifu said, wrong, try again. Forging me straight back into the bloody water. Pardon my French. This time I was so knackered that if I was to physically try to fight, I would drown. And so I gave up. I just literally I just made myself as buoyant as possible, and is that the only way I'm going to survive this is that if I totally relax and just go with the flow, go with the water. And the water took me around. I was in at least 20 minutes, felt a lot longer, but it was a good 20 minutes. And eventually it pushed me onto the bank. It threw me onto the bank. And crawled up, and Sifu then said, now you understand. So the metaphor of that is that I think you sort of you did say it yourself, is that if your life seems really hard and you're fighting, where people say, I'm really trying, I'm really fighting, stop trying. Yeah. Is that maybe that's the point? Is that if you're really struggling in life and things seem really hard and you're fighting against everything, maybe you should stop fighting. There's a very similar thing in Tai Chi. One of the first exercises I teach anybody is called Willow Tree Qigong, or twist the waist, and you turn the waist. Yeah. And it works on the spine and it massages the internal organs, but there's a martial application. When somebody pushes you, by flopping and twisting, you disperse their energy. And so you fight them without fighting, which was one of Bruce Lee's famous things he said, fight without fighting. And I think it's the thing of letting go, but not in a defeative way. It's letting go and going with what nature. Listen to the universe, listen to the divine mother, listen to things. Because I haven't got myself in trouble for ages, so let's go for it now. So a long time ago, well, now we say the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost in certain prayers, but it used to be the Father, the Mother, and the child. Yeah. And that is that whole thing of the masculine energy, doing things, getting things done, the feminine energy, listening and responding to stuff and nurturing to yourself and others, and that sacred child. And I think what the old energy, the Piscean energy, was all about the masculine. So it's all about, you've got to this. It's got, don't listen to your, how many movies did we used to have that? Don't listen to your heart. That's the bad, don't listen to the heart, listen to the mind. And it's like, yeah, monkey mind, the devil. 60 to 90,000 thoughts. The heart is the angel. And I think it's this thing of, it's not doing masculine, but it's balancing it more. It's learning to go with the flow more. It's learning to listen and react, rather than just, that Yoda was actually, his words of wisdom were from Buddha and Lao Tzu. And, do not try. There is no try. Do or do not. There is no try. So stop trying. I'm trying. I'm fighting. Stop fighting. Stop trying. Just do or do not. Flow. Go with the flow, or do something. Do something, or just let nature do it for you.
Do
Over to you,
something.
Doc.
Do something, see if it works. If it doesn't, do the opposite, see if that works, So I think I got I misunderstood for a while that this sacred feminine energies that we needed to stimulate the vagus nerve, and that was the way forward and stuff. It is for a lot of people who are stressed, but some people need the opposite. They actually need more masculine input as well. So it's not just a case of just relaxing and all sorts of stuff. We have to know how our own internal operating system works, right? And
Mm.
to do that, I think that we have to let go and sink deep and almost inquire from within. Who am I? What is my vibration? What is my pace? Please show me, you're right, my own resonance, because that will be directly linked to our soul's purpose, which will bring with it a certain skill or an attribute, right, to be used in order to make the world a better place. And then we'll be working with other people who have different frequencies, right, and we'll be working in groups. We might really hate some of them personality wise, but it may be at the soul level. We've got to work with people in order to, you know what I mean? So it's sometimes getting over your own personal likes and dislikes, right, in order to feel deeper and see where we're being guided, so that's one thing. The other thing is, I don't see ascension as a linear process. I see the whole idea. It's almost like a global spherical thing. And some people with 12 spheres or 12 dimensions of possibilities of human beingness, right? And I think some people might come in and they may need to just rebalance number 11, whereas somebody else might need to come in and rebalance number 2. So we can't really apply the ideas from one person to another because they could be
Mm.
totally opposite and it might obstruct what that person needs. So what I'm trying to say is, by all means, listen to everything that's coming in, but then take all the information, bung it in the heart, and then say, please show me what action I need to take. Is this person talking or let me do this in a more correct way. Is the information this person is giving, right, is it relevant to me at the moment? And then feel the energy. If your heart opens up and it feels enthusiastic and attractive to you, then that's probably the way forward. If your heart seems to close down, right, then that's probably not for you today, but tomorrow it might be exactly this. So it really is, isn't it? It's about having a blank slate and feeling the way to the next action. Here's the difficulty. If you go in working with a counselor or a health coach or whatever, they might have a set standard of formal sort of applications, which mightn't apply to you. So really, when we're working with other people, they've got to be open. You've got to be open because when two or more are gathered together. And it's intuition working with intuition, which is basically not heart to heart. This is deeper. It's soul to soul. And the way I'm seeing things now is, there's different vibrational frequencies now: gross, subtle, causal, and non-dual. And in other ways to say that is physical, physical, emotional, mental, right? And then spiritual. And another way to say it is body, mind, soul, spirit. And
Mm.
I think that they're almost like 4 quadrants of a human being. And the 5th element is the invisible realm of spirit, where really, as you said, macro to micro, that's where a lot of information's coming in. But Boggie, I know that it's all very well having all these theories, because lots of people have similar theories, right? But nobody's got the whole picture, right?
No,
So I don't know what I've just said there, but it's having,
no.
as Shanine says,
Sounded good.
Shanine, that's Shanine.
It's a big thing. It's like studying. I mean, my biggest thing has always been Taoism, but studying lots of different things. And the whole thing, there's a saying in Taoism about 10,000 to 1. Like the 10,000 things, which is everything in the universe, is all part of the one. What does that mean? Well, for me, that also means that if there is 10,000 things, that means there's 10,000 different ways to find your personal one. And so somebody saying, this is the way, banana is the way, turnip is the way. It's like, no, it's your way, is your way. And you've got to figure out what your way is, which is, well, like in my teaching method is, I said, I've had lots of students say, I'm very scary because I say, what would you like to learn? I give you the option, and or I throw 50 things at you and see what sticks, because I learned 1,000 different Qigong so you can learn 3. I learn all these different things because, and the same with, so I do reflexology, I do acupressure, I do Tuina, I do Theta, I do all these different things. So in your hour, I can use any or all of these to help rebalance you. And I'm not healing you, I'm rebalancing you. I'm pressing reset because you are a self-healing mechanism, like you are you are already Sifu. You are your own best Sifu. So my biggest thing has always been is that there is no right or wrong. It just is. And I used to get, I've got banned so many times just for saying that freaking word, that saying. But it's the whole thing of is that what works for you works for you. But you've got to let it in. You've got to, you've got to suck it and see. You've got to try things, as Doc says. You've got to take it back, and because the biggest thing in Taoism is that this is your angel, but this is sort of like, this is your litmus paper. If expansive, that would be a good yes, and if it's not contractive, it feels unsettled. But as really important, like Doc said, it's no, but to not know today, not necessarily know ever. It is like you may not want chocolate cakes today, but you might want it tomorrow or next week. So it's this thing. I think we've got to get out of this. There's only one way. There's only this, and there's only that, and we're all meant to be different. That's why there can be 100 different qigong schools or tai chi schools, or that's why I never, like people say, oh, aren't you worried your students create their own school or create? No, why should I care? Because everybody's there to help everybody else. That's the whole point. And we've got to get out of this Piscean or whatever, or this mindset, this anti-masculine of everything's limited, everything's restricted. No, it's abundant. The universe is abundant. Energy is abundant. Everything is abundant. The things, and it's that thing as well, is that you're never too old. It's never too late. But like people who have pushed that agenda, you just got to pat them on the back and send them love, because it's just it's a fear factor, and all fear does is slow you down. Yeah. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. But all it does is slow you down. It does slow. And I mean, from my point of view, it's like, what's the worst fear could do? It'll kill you. But it's all right. You're immortal. So you'll only reincarnate and come back and do it all over again. But, would you like to learn more this time? Or, so it's about just learning, do what you need to play, do it. Like I say, there is no right way, there is no wrong way, there's only the way, and that's your way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the Tao, the Tao, the way, the what's that? The path, or the road less traveled, and the pathless path and all this shit. Right. In the end, it comes down to this with me: is how do you feel, Joe? I feel okay. Are you open and flowing? Yeah. Well, just keep going. Right. Don't try and analyze it. Right. Stay like a blank sheet. And if anything's required, we'll give you the nudge. And the wheel that's giving you the nudge is your next stage of evolution. It's you. It's just the next stage of your own development, and probably the next scene in the play that the soul scripted for itself before it was incarnated here or moved from one dimension to the next. I see that carefully. We've got two choices in every situation, a healthy choice or a harmful or unhealthy choice, right? But sometimes when you're on the treadmill of emotional reactivity, you just make the defensive one and the self-centered one, or let's call it egocentricity. Yeah, so I agree with you. You know, I just want to go back to myofascia or fascia itself and connective tissue. So I see it like a it's a microfiber network really through which the photons of electricity, photons of light are traveling. And as you say, we only see about 1% of what's actually there, you know. But more and more people are realizing now because as this shift's coming in, there's more telepathic abilities coming to the fore. But also, people are seeing now, they're seeing lights, they're seeing patterns, not just within themselves that you see in meditation, but they're also seeing pictures now outside themselves. In fact, I've had a few myself real clear, almost like being at a cinema outside of myself. Now, in the past, I've actually seen figures and hieroglyphics and vortices and all those things. I've seen those outside, right? But I can't regulate it. It's just that they pop up. But what it seems to
Mm.
mean to me is that these abilities are coming online, right, as a consequence of my own evolution. Because, Buggy, I say to people, you know, I've got no idea what's going on half the time, right? They sort of think that because I can say a few words and, you know, that I know what I'm talking about. Sincerely, I haven't got a clue. But there is one part of me that knows everything. This is the
Yeah.
thing. So it's
But haven't got a clue is the perfect place to be. You know, is
exactly.
like very much. It is because then you're exactly where you're meant to be. When you think I know, the I disconnects us from the universe. You know, the I am, you know, I am this, and you just are, just be, you know, I've got a freaking clue, you know, and you know, like, oh, you know so much. No, there's always more to learn. There's always more to grow. But I just want to go, as you like said, the fascia. So there's an exercise I learned at 12 called cloud hands. I do a very
Yeah,
short version, and I used to practice this, and especially we was always taught dawn and dusk are the best times to practice. The reason it's the best times to practice is because the veil is the finished, and meaning that the energies are more likely to be seen. And the first time, like seeing, oh, I saw your aura, is doing this exercise. That my eyes, I was in what's called yang eyes, so I'm looking out into nowhere, into the distance. My eyes are blurred. I'm not focused on a point. I'm looking out, and I'm just seeing my hands go past, and I start seeing shadows, but light. Um, and it is in Taoism, they call it the Wu Wei field. You've got the Wu Wei philosophy, and then you've got the energy itself. And it's that layer of fascia, when your fascia is, when you're loosening up that fascia enough, because it's all about your stiffness blocks it, and it's blocking, that gets blocked, then your physical body gets blocked. You start getting more and more tense, more ill, more problems. So the biggest thing in Chinese medicine, you unwell, move, shift, move, fidget. The biggest thing, the sacred child, is that fidgeting is actually the most healthiest thing you can do. And I saw a thing, there was a medical study that they're now sort of saying, or 10 years ago, they were saying that actually fidgeting is actually now seen that it actually gets the nerves working, and the different systems start to sync together. So fidgeting is actually a good thing. We were told off as kids from doing it, but actually being all stiff, and that's the worst thing. So when you relax and you move, and like it doesn't have to be qigong, you can do just dance for dance sake, and you're moving, twisting, and you loosen up the body. That fascia starts to flow, and the energy starts to flow. And we sort of know that the fascia sort can emit light, because there's certain people that have been to, oh, they're almost glowing,
Yeah.
that mum, she's pregnant, oh, you're almost glowing. And it's, well, she actually is. She's not quite from Chernobyl, she's not radioactive, but the fascia is actually emitting light, and we see it. We don't necessarily see it fully physically, but we definitely feel that radiation of energy. And there are times when I'm definitely off on one, and Boggie, are you on drugs? No, I don't need drugs. It's all in my head, baby. But and people literally say, "Cool, the energy coming off of you, it's radiating off you, and it's allowing yourself to flow, and and that's the biggest thing." But that doesn't come from trying to do it. It's just letting it happen. And just going, I know nothing. Barcelona, I know nothing used to be one of my favorite sayings. Just going with the flow and just let things be.
Why did you say Barcelona then?
Because that was what one of my old so when I was training in Mallorca, we used to go to different places to train. There was and we always checked with this guy, but there was this guy called Boris who was who was from Spain, and he would say, "I come from Barcelona. I know nothing. I come from Barcelona," and we say, "Are you sure you haven't taken that for 40 towers?" What
Yeah.
is this 40 towers? I do not know this 40 towers.
So his name was Boris, and he spoke with a Welsh
Boris.
accent.
He was
He Welsh.
Spanish and
He
he's called
sounds.
Boris.
He
It's
sounds
like,
Welsh to me the way you say it. But I was just about to say, tell Boggy that you were in Barcelona 2 weeks ago, right? Demonstrating gua sha, tui na, shiatsu, opening the heart, qigong, tai chi, yoga, yin yoga, all these things. Same, because you and I work on the same vibration. There's no doubt about that. And I work the same way with people. If I spend an hour with somebody, in the end, they're on the floor, and I'm kneeling into their back, or like opening their solar plexus up and stuff like that, only because I get a feeling of work here now, work there. So people say, well, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, I've got no idea. So I'm asking my intuition, and I'll go and work on their foot now, right? Because sometimes you can be working on a big toe and the left shoulder kicks in, you see. And that's
yeah,
because the connective tissue, and especially the myofascia, works spirally, but also across the body as well. And this is the thing, it's becoming really big business now, this myofascial stuff. And like
you
you
and I have been
say,
doing it for freaking years.
well, that's what I mean. That's this what I mean. I mean, part of my PhD, which was 25 years ago, was doing myofascial trigger point massage and measuring the effect on the heart. Right. And what we showed was the heart rebalances while you're working and doing trigger points of the chest and the heart. So we're on the right lines, right? But still, Buggy, I just feel like it's almost like my PhD now is coming out to say, Joe, and this is what I get, Joe, tell them about your PhD now, because they were talking about injecting anesthetic in people's stellate ganglions, right? And it was impacted upon the way their heart works because they had something called intractable angina. And when they worked on here, or the suprascapular area or the paravertebral area, it changed the way their heart balanced, you see. But they said, because I went along, they were using lignocaine or anesthetic. I was doing trigger point massage and got better results than them blocking them. So it's not about blocking the pain. It's about creating space for the energy to move through. And as you say, we talk about Jing Qi Shen and different levels of energy. They're different frequencies, different vibrations, but they bring with it different messages from different places. I mean, I'm getting
Yeah,
loads of information in now, but the big thing I always say is it's all very well. I don't know whether I'm being guided from Andromeda, right? Arcturus, right? Sirius, or probably Uranus. That's probably the one that guides me most. But the point about it is, all of that doesn't matter. It's how do you feel? You feel obstructed. Sit back, sink into your heart, ask your heart, what action do I need to take to de-obstruct myself? And it might be as simple as you've just said yes there when you really mean no. You weren't being
yeah.
true to yourself. You said no and it blocked the flow. Go back now and do the opposite. And so sometimes we have to take actions. Like sometimes we have to go back and say sorry to people. You know, sometimes we have resentments, but we stopped. We can't look at what was the side that we played into this. There's a phrase in the Alcoholics Anonymous big book, and it says, "How did we set the ball rolling?" And what that means is, what choice did you make to put you in that place to be harmed? Because it
Yeah.
wasn't then, they wouldn't have harmed you if you would have not chosen to be there in the first place. So why were you
Mm.
attracted to put yourself there? Right. Now look at the lesson. And now if the situation comes up again similarly, what will you do next time? Because Boggy, if
Yeah.
you can't step forward and you can't step back, then you're limited, aren't you? You know.
100%.
So I've got no idea.
100%.
It's like that was like a preachy thing, but this is what I'm learning about me, that any disturbance, right? And we're being refined now because it's easy to see where we've been angry because we're not getting our own way. But then anger then moves into resentments, and then you start to see the resentments. Then it moves into frustration. Then it moves into irritability. So we're being taken backwards now to see where these tiny hooks are in. So at first it's like a big fish hook, right, for the whale. But now we're onto those little tiny hooks that are almost like pinching our skin. That's still a judgment at some level that needs an action to take to rebalance the karma and put us back into that neutral space. Over to you, quick, while I get a breath.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think, I think the whole thing of like, when issues come up, when problems come up, it, they're a blockage. There's a blockage that, like, I always come up with this problem, or in a relationship it always ends up like this. Then what are you doing wrong? What are you not doing different? If there is no right or wrong, what are you not doing different? Because if you keep having the same thing over and over again, then you need to do something different. And that's like the thing of I've spent 40 years learning all this stuff because then I've got 40 years worth of different ways of doing stuff. I don't have to do it just one way. And that was the biggest thing I learned a long time ago, was that there's 10,000 different techniques out there, but learn the techniques that resonate with you, and then help them with other people if that's your path, or do the things that help you now. If there's a block, well, you can either blast through it, you can clear it, which may be saying sorry to yourself and sorry to them, or and if there's resentment there, why is there resentment? Why, because would you, do you want to keep fighting? Do you want to keep, like in a relationship, do you want to keep fighting that relationship, or do you want to resolve the situation? So what there shouldn't be. If there's resentment, why is there resentment? What are you resenting? What is it in your past that's telling you should be blocking this or resenting this, or holding back? And it is that thing of, when things come up because they're showing you something. One of the biggest memories or lessons of, like, there is no such thing as failure, because if you're still alive, you haven't failed. You only fail when you're dead, and then if you believe in in reincarnation, then you'll come back and you can do it again anyway. So there is no failure. All there is a lesson to learn or a block to remove. So it's that thing of, like, if if you come up with somebody and there's always that blockage, there's always that resistance. What do you have to do to change it? Because it's not down to them, it's down to you.
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with this. And, someone's, Shanine's asked about karma and the truth and stuff like that. Karma to me is lessons unlearned, right? And I think that the universe in its infinite wisdom, which is us anyway, right? It's, we've set a program basically where there are karmic obstructions, and they're basically lessons not learned or acted upon. And it's the truth sets us free. But sometimes the truth, right, it cuts a few limbs off in the process, really, and it hurts like hell. And the hurting is not understanding the action, because our ego, which is really set at a very early age, right, is defensive. The ego is the subconscious mind, really, and it's just full of either fear or pride. And the pride is really is ideas that were basically fed us as children that we've taken on board in our naivety, right? That don't actually work for us and obstruct our personal soul's
Mm.
frequency. So sometimes the truth, we think it's the truth because we're still working off some social engineered, this is the way it should be. But if we go to, I don't know what the truth is, right? And we ask our heart and soul, please show me what the truth is. And it might say something simple as, you were told to respect elders and authority as a young child, right? That isn't true, right? You have to make your own mind up in the situation based upon how you feel energetically. And that's how I evaluate stuff now. I'm working with people. I can tell from a mile off whether it's, I'm resonant with somebody and liable to be working with them, right? But once again, it's almost like sending a sonar out and getting the signal back. And if I send a sonar out and it doesn't come back and it stays flowing, then probably I'll be working with that person. But sometimes I get a, to say, no, steer clear, at least for the moment. So I suppose what I'm saying is, it's finding the truth about our own internal operating system. And it might be completely opposite to the person that you're living with or the person next to you. So my thing is at the moment is that we're being shown to clean up our own side of the street and to stop even tinily pointing the finger at, yeah, but if they hadn't done this, I wouldn't have acted like that. See,
Mm.
emotional reactivity, right? Reaction. I'm not talking about actions. I'm talking about emotional reactivity is always defensive and it's based in fight and flight and a threat to our ego. There was something else that just came in there. Just let me do this bit here. So yeah, it's based upon memory. So the refinement is we're being taken back in our memory, right, to work beyond memory because the new world will be creative and novel. And novel means, Boggy, as you know, is it means it's not been done before. It's not just
Mhm.
rebadging an old idea. So we're actually going to be working from a place where of no
Yeah.
mind, right? And so how do you do that is you basically have to go into your heart, metaphorically decapitate yourself from the ideas in your head, throw all that away, and just work from one breath to the next in the now moment, inspired by the next breath. I've got no idea what that's about, but quick, translate that for me.
It sounds good. I think the whole thing of it's this, is that if you go by a linear perspective, like one thing goes on to another, then you keep looking back in the past, and you'll keep reflecting everything from the past, but you live in the now respective that everything's in the now, and almost, I mean, the great thing for me is I'm dyslexic, so I've got amnesia. So half the time I forget what I bloody done anyway. So it's freaking awesome. So I don't have the issue. And what I would sort of mean is, it's sort of a weird way of saying it is, when you was a kid, if you didn't like Brussels sprouts, but you do now, is that a problem? So so expanding from that, if you had an issue with somebody in the past, but you can find a way, or I've actually had this where somebody somebody I know had dementia, totally forgot all the big feud that they had with that person, and started being friends with them, and started to actually interact with them. And it's the thing of, it's the I and the ego, the monkey mind, that makes you, no, you've got to stick to your guns, you've got to, what about this and what, and it's like, but we don't, if like we talk about, we want the world to be a better place. Well, then we've got to stop fighting. We've got to stop fighting against ourselves and each other. And and it means that you got to stop saying I'm right, you're wrong, or this is right and that. You've got to accept people's point of view, and you've got to go, well, yep, you believe that bananas are the creator of the universe. That's okay with me because I believe something else, and that's all good.
That's the third time you've used bananas. I'll just say that before it's said from the
I
outside.
like
Now,
bananas.
no, I know you do. Now, I agree entirely. What's wrong with saying to somebody, how do you see this situation?
Mm.
Right. And they tell you, right? And if you get a grip, it just means that it doesn't coincide with your standard of what you're right. But then you can say to them, well, I don't actually see it like that. I see it like this. And if we can all share how we see, feel, and whatever things without saying, well, you're right and I'm wrong, then we get a bigger perspective, don't we? And then we can pick out the bits that are workable with, put them on the table, put them together, act upon it, see if it improves things. And if it doesn't, take the bits that work, take the bits that don't work, come back, do the same process all again. And I see that that's the way it's going to go forward. I have a picture of like 13, like there's a person in the middle who like accumulates all the stuff, right? Like the Christ and with the 12 disciples and stuff like this, right? He gets 12 perspectives in, both masculine and feminine, right? And in the end, it's the heart that chooses the way forward. And I think that there's got to be 12 plus 1 joining up with 12 plus 1 joining up with 12 plus 1. I can almost see that that's how it's going to spread across the globe, really, you know. And the other thing is, everybody's going on now about narcissist empaths, right? And all the people on a spiritual path, they all think that they're the empaths, you see what I mean? And when you point out to them that half of them's the narcissist, and look, and people don't like that because, Buggy, that's what was pointed out to me. But I'm such a caring person. I'm so feeling after all I've done for you. You know what I mean? And you can see then that that's the manipulation of the empath, right? And when you see it, it's freeing, really. Because I used to hold things back and I wouldn't say anything to a person in case it upset them. And it was pointed out to me that no, you're not doing that to spare their feelings. You're doing that because if they don't like what you say, you'll get upset. And so, you know, the person like a sponsor said to me, you know, he said, Joe, he said, you're possibly one of the most selfish people I've ever met in my life. And I was thinking, my perspective was, or my perception was, I'm like a saint. I run round after everybody. He said to me, have you ever done something for somebody and they haven't thanked you? How do you feel? I said, well, I feel like stabbing them in the throat. And I said, so everything that you were doing was for you and not for them. And Boggy, when I started to see it, these mechanisms I developed in the first 7 years of my life, and I've been working on those coping skills, right, for all that time. And really, had I not got ill and been put in a position where I had to reflect upon my actions all of my life, I wouldn't have been able to see these things. So sometimes illness is for a purpose, to stop you in your tracks, to stop you looking outside for answers, and to get you stop expecting, start inspecting. And I think that's what's happening now. It's almost a time of fact finding and fact facing, but it's about ourselves, not what's going on out there. It's our responses and reactions to what's going on out there. Then you get an idea of who you are. Like it says over the portal at Delphi, you know, the oracle, it says, know thyself. End of story. Quick, over to you.
And I think that is, I feel that is probably the most important thing you can do. Learn yourself. Go and spend a day, a weekend, freaking 10 years, whatever it takes. But look back at everything. Look back, but not in a judgmental way. Look back at everything. When I looked back at like all the ups and downs of my life, and then realized that the downs led to ups, and then the ups were there to reassure me when you were going for the downs. You know, a little bit like you know, I actually joined the Red Cross because I thought that's a good thing to do,
Yeah.
and then got upset because people weren't actually saying, oh, you know, and it's like, oh, hold up, I'm not doing it because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing it because it's an ego thing. And it's the thing of, you know, you got to be willing just to let things go and let things shift and love the whole thing. If everything changes, that means you need to change, you need to grow. And it's not a bad thing, you know, because that I held on for a long time was that, you know, it's like, oh, you know, if you change too much, it's a bad thing. It's like, but you're changing and you're growing and you're expanding. So it's not a bad thing at all. And again, like you said, it's like, I used to be worried about saying certain things because I might upset somebody. And it's like, but if I upset them, you know, like the haters have got to hate because you're challenging their viewpoint. That's
Yes.
why they hate you. you know. And
Absolutely.
so it's the thing of, sending out love, but dilly gap. Like if I've upset you, it's not my it's not my mission to upset you, but maybe you need to look into you to see why it upset you, if it's upset you. Because I'm always there to help people, and I'm there to help you grow and flow, but I'm not there to lead. If you're looking for somebody that's going to tell you exactly what to do all the time, that I'm not that sort of teacher. If you're looking for somebody who's is going to tell you how many healing sessions you need, and how that, I'm not that sort of healer. I will go with you like you will go. I'm as much the student as I am the Sifu, and I as much the patient as I am the practitioner. Is that I listen to you and I listen to your guidance as well as me giving guidance back, because it's supposed to be an ebb and flow. Even karma's just a tally to me. It's just are things balancing off? Oh no, it
Exactly.
needs a little bit more this, it needs a little bit more that. But hey,
I
what do I
see
know?
I see that in the chakras now, the seven chakras, they've got imbalances in them. Part of our job is to find out at each of those which way is there too much masculine, too much feminine. Sit down, tune into the intuition, ask for the action to be taken, and then go and take it. But when you get the idea is you need to go and do this and stand up for yourself, then the little child comes in, he's fearful, and then that's where the authoritative parent needs to come in. Grab it by the hand to say, come on, we'll go through this together. But it's nobody outside of you, because if you're still looking for someone to protect you from the outside or give you something or whatever, I think that you're missing the point. Or this is just my way of seeing things and explaining it. And if different people have different opinions, that's fine. They're wrong, but that's fine. No, but Boggy, we're coming up to time. I'm so glad to have hooked up with you again, mate. And yeah, we're definitely on the same wavelength. We use very similar techniques and stuff, but guided by intuition. I think when people come to me and ask them what should they do next, the only thing I can do is give them the same principles and tools that were given to me and say, practice those things there. Yeah, but what shall I do tomorrow? Practice those things there, right? Yeah, but say if this happens, everything that you need to know is contained within you, right? So go and practice that breathing, go and practicing letting go, and just practice non-interference, and the answers will come to you. They will emerge rather than you having to imagine stuff from a frightened head. You know what I mean? So that's it, mate. Have a feel and see if there's anything else. So practical techniques, definitely moving, right? Qigong, Tai Chi, going with the flow, because you start to feel the flow more and more, don't you? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And if you're a Reiki master or a Reiki healer, is the more you relax, the more the channels open, the more the move, the more you stretch your connective tissue, the more the flow comes through. See, I'm beginning to see this flow now. It's not just about expanding consciousness, it's about conscientiousness coming in now. I think more and more people
Yeah.
are becoming more caring, understanding, and compassionate. But there's lots of people who are afraid to let go of their old ways. They're becoming more angry, more impatient, more frustrated. And, we're seeing almost like a split right across the planet, where some people are surrendering to win, and some people are, I'm not having it. This is who I am, and I'm not changing for anything. Boggy, I don't think that we have to change. I think we have to let go to be changed by this force
Yeah.
that's coming.
Yeah, and the big I think the biggest thing will be is for a lot of people is like, oh, my partner, he she they don't want to change. You can't change anybody. You can only change you. You are the one you work on, and everybody else are what they are, and you just got to support them and be them for them in the best you can. But at the end of the day, you deal with you, and when you affect. One thing I learned remote viewing and the fractal is that you work on you, it affects the outside world. So you
Absolutely.
just work, you find the imbalance in you, you can sort it out in the outside world.
Yeah.
But hey, what do I know?
I, same here, mate. And I think as well as you change, the people closest to you need to change as well, really, because the dynamic changes completely. And some people have to not mend relationships, but they're meant to be there to grow. Some people are meant to move out. How do you know? Your heart knows the way forward. So to go to marriage guidance counselors and this, that, and the other may be a good idea as long as you take the information and allow the heart to send out the truth, really. Because I think that's where the heart of, I call it the heart of hearts, because I believe that we can open the gates of our heart and then the soul can speak and inspire us then. Boggy, I love you, mate. As I say, if I get there, I get there, and we'll have another couple of these.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, let us know, and we'll ramble on again.
Okay. So
All right.
all the best, and may the force remain with you forever and ever. In nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritu Tui Sancti. God bless you. Bye bye. Thanks everybody. Nice to see you all. Bye bye.